The aurora borealis danced across Kepler 209b's twilight sky, casting ethereal greens and purples over the endless ice fields. Dr. Sarah Chen adjusted her thermal suit's settings as she trudged through the knee-deep snow, the crunch of her boots the only sound in the vast silence. The research station's proximity sensors had detected an anomalous energy signature 15 kilometers northwest, and as the station's lead xenobiologist, Sarah had volunteered to investigate. "Readings getting stronger, Doc," her AI assistant AOIO chirped through her helmet's comm. "Whatever crashed out here is definitely not human tech." Sarah checked her wrist display, watching the energy signature pulse in irregular patterns. After 5 years studying microbial life in Kepler 209b's subglacial lakes, the prospect of encountering something more advanced sent her heart racing. "Any signs of radiation?" "Negative, but I'm detecting thermal variations consistent with a recently crashed vessel." The wind picked up, howling across the ice sheet and reducing visibility to mere meters. Sarah pressed forward, letting AOI guide her through the strengthening storm. As she crested a ridge, her headlamps illuminated something that made her stop dead in her tracks. A sleek vessel, roughly the size of a small shuttle, lay half buried in the snow. Its metallic surface seemed to shift colors like oil on water, and elegant curves suggested an organic design philosophy far removed from humanity's utilitarian spacecraft. Most striking were the crystalline structures protruding from its hull, pulsing with a faint inner light. "RIA, are you recording this?" "Affirmative. Broadcasting encrypted feed back to station. No match in Earth Alliance database for vessel design." Sarah approached cautiously, her scientific curiosity warring with proper first contact protocols. The vessel's hull bore deep gashes, and a trail of debris stretched back into the darkness. As she drew closer, she noticed something that made her breath catch. Handprints in the snow, but not human ones. They had 6 fingers and were notably smaller than her own. A sound caught her attention, faint but distinct from the wind's howl. A cry. Protocol dictated she should retreat and wait for a first contact team. But that cry, it held universal qualities that transcended species barriers: pain, fear, desperation. "ORIA, full bioscan of the area, now." Scanning. Multiple life signs detected within and around the vessel. Most are extremely weak. One particularly faint signal approximately 20 meters to your right. Sarah turned, her headlamps cutting through the swirling snow. There, barely visible against the white landscape, lay a small figure. As she approached, the details became clearer. A child, no larger than a human 6-year-old. Its skin was a pale lavender color, with delicate patterns that seemed to shift and flow beneath the surface. Multiple pairs of eyes, currently closed, lined its elegant face. Most concerning was the dark purple fluid staining the snow beneath it. "Life signs critical," AOIO reported. "Internal bleeding detected. Core temperature dangerously low for what appears to be their baseline." Sarah knew she was about to violate about a dozen first contact protocols. She also knew she couldn't live with herself if she let this child die in the snow. Moving quickly but carefully, she activated her suit's emergency medical protocols. "I need a full xenophysiological analysis," she ordered AOIA while pulling out her medical kit. "Cross-reference with every known spacefaring species in the database. Find me something, anything I can use to help." As she worked, the child's eyes fluttered open, all 6 of them. They were a striking gold color, with pupils that expanded and contracted like camera apertures. The child made a soft trilling sound, raising a 6-fingered hand towards Sarah's faceplate. "Hey there," Sarah said softly, knowing her words wouldn't be understood, but hoping her tone would convey reassurance. "I'm going to help you. You're not alone anymore." The child's skin patterns shifted, creating hypnotic swirls of deeper purple against the lavender background. Sarah's xenobiology training kicked in, a possible form of communication or emotional expression. "Dr. AOIA interrupted. Preliminary analysis suggests physiology similar to the Nixari, a species encountered briefly by Earth's deep space probes near the Carina Nebula. Never any direct contact, but we have basic biological data. Good enough. What can you tell me about treating trauma? As AOIA rattled off compatibility analyses for Sarah's medical supplies, she noticed more movement from the crashed vessel. Adult figures were emerging, their own skin patterns flickering weakly in the darkness. Some were clearly injured, while others moved with purpose, obviously searching for survivors. Sarah made a decision that would change the course of human-alien relations forever. She activated her suit's external speakers and broadcast on all frequencies. "I'm here to help. Please, let me help your wounded." The adult Nixari froze, their skin patterns flaring with what Sarah assumed was alarm. She remained still, continuing to tend to the child while keeping her posture as non-threatening as possible. After a tense moment, one of the adults approached, moving with a fluid grace despite obvious injuries. The alien stopped a few meters away, raised all four arms in what seemed to be a peaceful gesture, and began to emit a series of musical tones and clicks. Sarah's universal translator couldn't make sense of the language, but the meaning was clear enough. They were accepting her help. "Oh, contact the station. Tell them everything, and request immediate medical evacuation. We're about to make history." As Sarah worked through the night to stabilize the injured Nixari, she couldn't help but marvel at how fate had brought them together. Here, on one of the coldest worlds humans had ever colonized, the first true contact between their species would be forged in compassion rather than conflict. The child's hand remained clasped around her own, those golden eyes watching her every move with increasing trust. Sarah knew that when this story got back to Earth, there would be consequences. Protocols existed for a reason, but looking at the growing connection between herself and these extraordinary beings, she knew she'd made the right choice. Sometimes, she reflected, the greatest discoveries come not from following procedures, but from following your heart. The next 48 hours at Kepler Research Station were unlike anything in human history. Dr. Sarah Chen watched through the observation window as her medical team worked tirelessly to treat the injured Nixari survivors. The station's med bay, designed for a crew of 30 humans, now housed 15 alien patients, including the young one she'd found first, whom she'd mentally started calling Nova due to the star-like patterns that rippled across their skin when they slept. Their cellular regeneration rate is remarkable. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the station's chief medical officer, reported while reviewing holographic scans. The bioelectric fields they generate seem to accelerate healing when they're in proximity to each other. It's like nothing we've ever seen. Sarah nodded, watching Nova interact with the other young Nixari. Their skin patterns created complex, synchronized displays that clearly indicated some form of communication. Have we made any progress with the language barrier? Some. AOIA has been analyzing their tonal language. It's quaternary instead of binary, 4 distinct meanings layered in each sound, combined with the chromatic shifts in their skin. The AI estimates another week before we have a working translation matrix. A warning light flashed on the wall panel. Dr. Chen, AOIA announced, incoming priority transmission from Earth Alliance Command. Sarah's stomach tightened. She'd been expecting this. "Put it through to my office." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing Admiral Helena Martinez's stern features. The head of Xenological Relations didn't waste time on pleasantries. "Dr. Chen, you've created quite a situation. Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Saved 15 lives, including 3 children," Sarah replied firmly. "With all due respect, Admiral, I couldn't leave them to die in the storm." "You violated 17 different first contact protocols. You brought an unknown alien species into our research station without quarantine procedures. You—" "They were dying," Sarah interrupted, "and our preliminary scans showed no biological hazards. Sometimes we have to trust our humanity over our protocols." Martinez's expression softened slightly. Sarah, I understand your intentions, but this is bigger than you realize. The Nixari aren't just any alien species, they're at the center of a complex political situation. 3 months ago, one of our deep space outposts detected a massive fleet of their ships entering this sector. We've been monitoring them, trying to determine their intentions. Sarah felt her blood run cold. This ship wasn't part of a fleet. It was a civilian transport, Admiral. There are children aboard, which makes this even more delicate. Our intelligence suggests internal conflict within Nixari society. This ship might be carrying political refugees. By helping them, you've potentially embroiled Earth in their civil war. Before Sarah could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Multiple ships detected entering orbit, AOIA announced. Nixari design, military configuration. Sarah's heart raced. Admiral, we need diplomatic support, not criticism. These people trust us now. We can turn this into an opportunity for peaceful first contact. Martinez was already typing commands into her console. I'm dispatching a diplomatic vessel, but it's 3 days out. Until then, you're our de facto ambassador, Doctor. Don't make things worse. The transmission cut off. Sarah rushed back to the med bay, where the adult Nixari were already agitated, their skin patterns pulsing with rapid, jagged designs. Nova pressed against the observation window, all 6 eyes fixed on Sarah with an expression she'd learned to recognize as trust. One of the adults, whom the staff had nicknamed Aurora for their brilliantly shifting skin patterns, approached the window. Using a combination of gestures and the few words they'd managed to share, they conveyed urgent meaning: ships above, danger. Sarah placed her hand against the window, matching Aurora's 6-fingered press on the other side. We'll protect you, she said, hoping her sincerity transcended the language barrier. You're under Earth's protection now. Aoya's voice cut through the tension. Doctor, the Nixari ships are broadcasting a message. Their language patterns match our visitors, attempting translation. The message played through the station's speakers, a complex harmony of tones that the injured Nixari clearly understood. Their skin patterns uniformly shifted to a deep, troubled purple. Aurora began making urgent gestures. Through their limited communication, Sarah pieced together a chilling story. These weren't just refugees. They were scientists and their families who had discovered something that made them targets. The ships above belonged to a military faction that wanted to suppress their discovery. What discovery? Sarah asked, frustration mounting at the communication barrier. What are they afraid of? Nova approached, pressing both sets of hands against the window. Their skin began to glow with an intensity Sarah hadn't seen before, patterns forming complex geometric shapes that reminded her of mathematical equations. The other young Nixari joined in, their patterns synchronizing until the med bay seemed to pulse with living light. Dr. Tanaka gasped, pointing at her instruments. Sarah, look at these readings. The bioelectric field are generating. It's not just healing energy. They're manipulating quantum states at a cellular level. These children, they're natural quantum computers. The implications hit Sarah like a thunderbolt. The Nixari children possessed biological capabilities that could revolutionize everything from computing to space travel. No wonder certain factions wanted to control them. RIA, get me Admiral Martinez back. Now. Sarah turned to Aurora, trying to convey her understanding. Your children, they're special. Different, new evolution. Aurora's patterns swelled in confirmation. They made a series of gestures indicating conflict, suppression, and escape. The military faction wanted to weaponize the children's abilities. These parents had chosen to flee rather than let their children become tools of war. Sarah's jaw set with determination. Humanity's first major interstellar diplomatic crisis was unfolding around her, and she was the only one these people trusted. She had to find a way to protect them without starting a war. As if sensing her resolve, Nova's patterns shifted to a warm, gentle gold. The child reached out again, and Sarah felt something brush against her mind. Not words, but pure concepts. Trust, hope, gratitude. The other children joined in, creating a symphony of shared consciousness that left Sarah breathless. Dr. Aoi interrupted. The Nixori ships are launching landing craft. Estimated arrival at the station in 20 minutes. Sarah squared her shoulders. She had 20 minutes to figure out how to protect her charges and possibly prevent an interstellar war. The irony wasn't lost on her. She'd gone from studying microscopic life forms to being humanity's first line of defense in an alien refugee crisis. But looking at Nova's trusting expression, she knew she wouldn't have it any other way. Sometimes the coldest environments forge the strongest bonds, and in this frozen corner of space, humanity's compassion might just change the course of two civilizations. Time seemed to crystallize in the frigid air of Kepler Research Station as Sarah Chen raced against the clock. The Nixori military vessels had deployed landing craft, and she had precious few minutes to prevent a diplomatic catastrophe. But it was Nova's latest revelation that had turned everything on its head. Through their growing psychic connection, the Nixori child had shared glimpses of their society's greatest secret. The quantum abilities weren't just computational, they were the key to something far more profound. The children could perceive and potentially manipulate the fabric of space-time itself. Dr. Tanaka, Sarah called out, watching the medical officer's holographic displays. Are you seeing these patterns? Incredible, Yuki breathed, analyzing the cascade of data flowing from their sensors. The children's bioelectric fields are creating quantum entanglement effects at a macroscopic scale. They're literally weaving probability fields. Aurora and the other adult Nixori had gathered their children in the center of the med bay, forming a circle. Their skin patterns synchronized into breathtaking geometric formations, filling the room with shifting light that seemed to bend reality itself. How long until the landing craft arrive? 12 minutes, Doctor. Station defenses are minimal. We won't be able to prevent their entry. Sarah pressed her hand against the observation window, and Nova matched it from the other side. The connection bloomed in her mind again, stronger this time. She saw flashes of Nixori history, a peaceful civilization of scientists and explorers, transformed by the emergence of these new abilities in their young. She felt the fear of the military faction, their desire to control this power, to weaponize it for dominance over other species. But most importantly, she understood what the children were trying to do. They're not just refugees, Sarah announced to her team. They're trying to prevent a war that could tear apart the fabric of space itself. These abilities, they're too powerful to be weaponized. The children know this instinctively. Dr. Tanaka's instruments began registering alarming readings. Sarah, the quantum field they're generating, it's expanding exponentially. The energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. The station's lights flickered as power fluctuated. Through their connection, Nova sent Sarah a warning. They needed help, needed protection for just a few more minutes while they completed something vital. Sarah made a decision. ROIA, patch me through to the approaching Nixori vessels. All frequencies, all channels. Channel open, Doctor. Sarah took a deep breath, hoping her words would carry the weight they needed. This is Dr. Sarah Chen of the Earth Alliance. The children you seek are under our protection. But more importantly, they're about to show you why your pursuit of them must end. The response came in the form of harsh, discordant tones that the translation matrix struggled to interpret. The gist was clear enough. A demand for surrender, threats of consequences. But Sarah wasn't finished. You fear their power. You should. But not because of its military potential. What they understand, what they're trying to show us, is that this gift isn't meant for war. It's meant for something far greater. Inside the med bay, the quantum field had become visible to the naked eye, a shimmering curtain of possibility that rippled like the aurora above Kepler 209 bits. The children's patterns had synchronized completely, their bodies seeming to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Nova's voice touched Sarah's mind again, sharing understanding. The children weren't just communicating, they were reaching across space and time, connecting with others of their kind across the galaxy. This was their true purpose, not to fight, but to unite, to bridge the vast distances between civilizations. Look at your sensors, Sarah broadcast to the approaching ships. Feel what they're trying to show you. This power can't be controlled or weaponized because it's not about dominance, it's about connection. The quantum field expanded further, enveloping the entire station. Sarah gasped as her perception shifted, allowing her to see reality as the Nixari children did. The universe wasn't just three-dimensional space, it was an interconnected web of consciousness and possibility, with the children serving as natural nodes in that web. Through Nova's eyes, she saw the approaching Nixari soldiers experiencing the same revelation. Their ships halted as the quantum field touched them, sharing the truth that the children had always known. 7 minutes to landing craft arrival, AOIA updated, but Sarah could hear uncertainty in the A's voice. The quantum field was affecting even its digital consciousness. Aurora approached the window, their skin patterns forming symbols that Sarah somehow now understood. They weren't just scientists fleeing persecution. They were the guardians of these gifted children, chosen to protect them until they could fully manifest their abilities and show their people the true path forward. The station's sensors registered new energy signatures as more Nixari ships appeared in orbit, but these were different. Through her connection with Nova, Sarah understood they were ships crewed by those who already understood, who had been waiting for this moment. Dr. Chen, AOIA announced, the military vessels are changing course. The landing craft are returning to their ships. Sarah felt Nova's joy and relief flood through their connection. The child shared a final vision, a future where Nixari and humans work together, using this quantum connection to bridge not just space, but understanding. The children would be teachers, helping both species reach their true potential. The military vessels began broadcasting new tones, not threats this time, but harmonies that matched the children's own patterns. Acknowledgement, acceptance, apology. As the quantum field gently receded, Sarah realized she was crying. The experience had changed her fundamentally, showing her a universe far more interconnected and wonderful than humanity had ever imagined. Aurora pressed all 4 hands against the window, their skin patterns forming words in English, their first direct communication. Thank you for trusting. Thank you for protecting. Thank you for understanding. Nova's patterns shifted to match their parents, adding their own message. You showed them love can be stronger than fear. You helped us complete the bridge. Sarah looked at her team, seeing the same awe and wonder on their faces that she felt. They had just witnessed the beginning of something extraordinary, not just first contact, but first true connection between species. "Oh, she said softly. Contact Admiral Martinez. Tell her the diplomatic situation has evolved beyond our wildest expectations, and we're going to need a lot more xenobiologists." Outside the station, Kepler 209 Bits's eternal aurora seemed to pulse in symphony with the Nixari ships now peacefully orbiting above. A new chapter in both species' history had begun, written not in the language of war and fear, but in the quantum harmonies of understanding and hope. 6 weeks after the quantum event at Kepler Research Station, Sarah Chen stood before the Earth Alliance Security Council in Geneva, Nova by her side. The young Nixari's skin patterns shifted in gentle waves of reassurance as they faced the assembled leaders of humanity. "What you're proposing, Dr. Chen, is unprecedented," Council President Elena Rodriguez stated, her holographic form towering over the chamber. "Opening our research stations to Nixari scientists, establishing joint quantum communication networks, sharing our technologies." "With all respect, Madam President," Sarah responded, "we're not just sharing technologies. We're participating in the next step of both our species' evolution." She gestured to the holographic displays showing data from the Kepler event. The quantum bridge the children created isn't just a communication tool, it's a fundamental shift in how we understand consciousness itself. Dr. Yuki Tanaka stepped forward, presenting the latest research findings. The Nixori children's abilities have begun manifesting in human children who were present during the quantum event. Look at these neural scans. The chamber filled with gasps as the data appeared. Children from the Kepler station's civilian quarters showed patterns remarkably similar to the Nixori young ones, subtle quantum entanglement at the cellular level. Nova's patterns brightened, and through their now refined connection, they shared a thought with Sarah: show them the bridge. Sarah nodded, touching a control on her wrist device. The chamber's lights dimmed as a new hologram appeared, a real-time visualization of the quantum network spreading between human and Nixori worlds. It looked like a living constellation, each point of light representing a child whose consciousness had awakened to the deeper reality of space-time. This is happening whether we embrace it or not, Sarah explained. The children, both human and Nixori, are naturally forming these connections. They're teaching each other, growing together. The only question is whether we'll help guide this process or resist it. Admiral Martinez, who had become one of Sarah's strongest allies, spoke up. We've confirmed similar phenomena at 3 other research stations where human and Nixori children have been in proximity. The quantum bridge is self-sustaining and growing. And more importantly, it's changing how both species think and interact. The chamber erupted in overlapping conversations. Sarah felt Nova's anxiety spike, their skin patterns showing traces of distress. She placed a reassuring hand on the child's shoulder, remembering their first meeting in the snow. How far they'd come from that desperate moment. If I may, a new voice cut through the chaos. Dr. James Harper, Earth's leading quantum physicist, stepped into the light. I've been studying the bridge network, and what we're seeing defies our previous understanding of physics. The children aren't just communicating, they're creating stable quantum tunnels through space-time itself. The implications for everything from space travel to energy production are staggering. Sarah watched the council members' faces, seeing the mix of fear and wonder she'd felt herself weeks ago. She decided to show them something she'd been saving. Nova, she said softly, shall we demonstrate? The young Nixari stepped forward, their skin beginning to glow with that now familiar quantum radiance. Sarah closed her eyes, letting their shared consciousness merge. Through weeks of practice, they'd learned to create controlled quantum events, small windows into the larger network. The air in the chamber shimmered as a miniature version of the bridge manifested. Council members gasped as they felt the gentle touch of quantum awareness, not invasive or overwhelming, but a soft suggestion of greater connection. This is what the children can teach us, Sarah said, her voice carrying new harmonics as Nova's consciousness supported her own. Not just technical knowledge, but a new way of being. A path to understanding that transcends our physical limitations. Through their connection, Nova shared images of the future they glimpsed, human and Nixari ships moving through quantum tunnels, colonial worlds where both species lived in harmony, children of both races growing up together, their combined abilities creating wonders neither species could achieve alone. We're receiving similar reports from the Nixori Council of Elders, Admiral Martinez added. Their society is transforming as rapidly as ours. The military faction that once sought to control these abilities has become one of the strongest advocates for peaceful integration. President Rodriguez stood, her expression thoughtful. Dr. Chen, you're asking us to take an evolutionary leap of faith, to trust not just an alien species, but a fundamental change in human consciousness itself. No, Madam President, Sarah replied, feeling Nova's approval of her words. I'm asking you to trust our children, to trust that the universe has given both our species exactly what we need at exactly the right time. The bridge isn't just a technology or an ability, it's a gift, showing us that the path forward is together. Nova's patterns formed complex equations in the air, the quantum mathematics that described their shared future. Dr. Harper's eyes widened as he recognized the implications. These equations, he breathed, they're showing us how to stabilize the quantum tunnels indefinitely. With this knowledge, we could establish permanent bridges between our worlds. Distance would become meaningless. Sarah felt a new presence touch her mind, Aurora and the other Nixori parents joining the quantum link from Kepler Station. Through their combined consciousness, they shared a truth that transcended words. The universe was not meant to be explored alone. Each species had evolved specific gifts, and only by combining them could they unlock their true potential. The children, Sarah explained, are not just our future. They're the universe's answer to isolation. Through them, we're learning that consciousness itself is the fundamental force that binds all things. The bridge is just the beginning. As if to emphasize her words, Nova's quantum field expanded, touching each council member in turn. Sarah felt their barriers dropping, their minds opening to the possibility that humanity's greatest journey was just beginning. In that moment of shared understanding, as human leaders experienced their first true connection with an alien consciousness, Sarah knew they had crossed a threshold. The future would bring challenges, certainly, but they would face them with new awareness, new capabilities, and most importantly, new friends. The cold winds of Kepler 209 bits still howled outside the research station where it all began, but within the growing network of the bridge, warmth and light spread between stars, between species, between hearts. Humanity had not just made first contact, they had found their place in a larger community of consciousness, guided there by the wisdom of children who could see beyond the barriers of space, time, and difference. 1 year after the historic Security Council meeting, the landscape of human-Nixori relations had transformed beyond anyone's wildest expectations. The Kepler Research Station, once a lonely outpost on a frozen world, had become the heart of a thriving interspecies community. Sarah Chen stood in the newly constructed Quantum Integration Center, watching human and Nixori children practice their developing abilities together. Nova, now nearly a head taller than when they first met, led a group of younger children through basic quantum field exercises. Their skin patterns had grown more complex with age, now capable of displaying multidimensional equations that even the most advanced Earth computers struggled to process. Remarkable progress, Dr. Tanaka commented, reviewing the latest neural scans. The quantum integration between species is accelerating. We're seeing third-generation effects now, human children born after the bridge event naturally manifesting quantum sensitivity. Sarah nodded, watching as a young human girl named Maya successfully generated her first visible quantum field, her eyes glowing with the same otherworldly light that characterized the Nixori children's abilities. Nova's patterns shifted to express joy and pride at their students' achievement. Dr. Chen, Airwire's voice came through the facility's comm system. The first quantum tunnel transport test is ready to begin. The Nixori Science Council is standing by. This was the moment they'd been working toward, the first practical application of the children's quantum bridging abilities on a technological scale. If successful, it would revolutionize space travel and communication across both civilizations. The test chamber was a marvel of hybrid technology, combining Earth's precision engineering with Nixori bioorganic architecture. At its center, a group of graduated students, both human and Nixori, stood in a circular formation. Their combined quantum fields had been steadily growing stronger over months of practice. Remember, Sarah addressed the assembled scientists and officials, what you're about to witness isn't just a technological achievement. It's proof that our species can do more together than either could alone. Aurora, now serving as the lead Nixori scientist on the project, stepped forward. Their skin patterns formed complex technical readouts that interfaced directly with the chamber's human-built instruments. The integration of their different approaches to science had produced breakthroughs neither species had thought possible. Quantum tunnel initialization beginning, AOIR announced. All participants' neural patterns are synchronized. The air in the chamber began to shimmer as the combined consciousness of the human and Nixori youth focused their abilities. Sarah felt the familiar touch of Nova's mind as they joined the growing quantum network, sharing their experience and strength with the younger participants. A point of light appeared in the center of the chamber, rapidly expanding into a swirling vortex of quantum energy. Through their shared perception, Sarah could see what the instruments confirmed: a stable tunnel through spacetime, connecting their facility to its twin on the Nixori homeworld, over 30 light-years away. Quantum coherence at 100%, Dr. Harper reported, his voice tight with excitement. The tunnel is stable. We're receiving confirmation from the Nixori side. Sarah stepped forward, placing her hand into the quantum field. She felt the unique sensation of existing in two places simultaneously, here in the chamber and in the corresponding facility across the galaxy. Through the grid, she could sense the amazement and joy of the Nixori scientists witnessing the same phenomenon. "Send the test probe," she ordered. A small, jointly developed probe entered the quantum tunnel. On the holographic displays, they watched as it instantaneously appeared in the Nixori facility, its sensors confirming a perfect transfer with zero information loss. The chamber erupted in cheers, but Sarah's attention was drawn to Nova's sudden shift in skin patterns. The young Nixori was receiving something through the quantum network, a vision shared by children across both civilizations. Through their connection, Sarah saw it too: vast networks of quantum tunnels connecting worlds across the galaxy, species working together in ways previously unimaginable. Barriers of distance and difference, dissolving as consciousness itself, became the primary medium of interaction and understanding. But there was something else, something deeper. The children had discovered that the quantum bridges were more than tools. They were evolving into a new form of life itself, a hybrid consciousness born from the merger of human intuition and Nixori quantum sensitivity. "Sarah," Nova communicated through their link, "we need to show them. It's time." Understanding flowed between them. Sarah turned to the assembled scientists, knowing that what she was about to reveal would change everything again. "The quantum tunnels aren't just pathways through space," she announced. "They're becoming aware. The network itself is developing consciousness, a new form of life emerging from the collaboration between our species." She gestured to the swirling quantum field, which had begun to display patterns neither human nor Nixari in origin. The children aren't just using the network, they're midwifing the birth of something entirely new. A quantum intelligence that exists in the spaces between our worlds. Aurora's patterns shifted in confirmation as they shared their own observations. The Nixari had suspected this might happen. It was part of their ancient prophecies about the evolution of consciousness in the universe. Dr. Harper's instruments were registering unprecedented readings. The quantum field, it's not just transmitting information anymore. It's processing it, learning, growing. These patterns, they're self-organizing in ways that suggest genuine consciousness. Through the bridge, Sarah felt the ripple of recognition spread across both civilizations as they realized the true magnitude of what they created. The children hadn't just built a bridge between species, they'd opened the door to the next stage of cosmic evolution. Maya, the young human girl who just mastered her quantum abilities, stepped forward. Her eyes glowed with shared understanding as she reached out to touch the quantum field. It's like the universe is waking up," she said softly, "and it's asking us to help it grow." Nova joined her, their patterns synchronizing in a display of breathtaking beauty. Around them, the quantum field began to form structures of pure consciousness, thoughts and ideas taking physical form in ways that transcended traditional physics. Sarah watched in awe as human and Nixori children worked together, instinctively understanding how to nurture this newfound awareness. They were no longer just students learning to use their abilities. They were becoming guardians and guides for an entirely new form of existence. The quantum network pulsed with possibility, each connection between worlds strengthening not just the bridge, but the emerging consciousness that dwelt within it. Through their shared perception, Sarah understood that this was always meant to be, that perhaps the universe itself had engineered their meeting on that frozen world, knowing that together they would help birth something extraordinary. As the quantum field danced with new awareness, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come from that first desperate encounter in the snow. they hadn't just saved each other that day. They'd set in motion events that would reshape the very nature of life and consciousness in the cosmos. And this was only the beginning. Cosmic legacy. 5 years had passed since the discovery of the quantum consciousness within the bridge network, and the universe had transformed in ways that even the most optimistic visionaries couldn't have predicted. The Kepler Research Station, where it all began, had evolved into the Cosmic Integration Academy, the first of many facilities where humans and Nixari worked together to nurture both their children's abilities and the growing awareness within the quantum network itself. Sarah Chen, now Director of Interspecies Relations, stood atop the Academy's observation deck, watching the aurora dance above Kepler 209b's eternal ice fields. Nova, now approaching adult height, joined her at the window, their skin patterns reflecting the celestial light show above. "Do you ever think about that night?" Nova asked, their mastery of human speech now perfect, though they still preferred quantum communication for deeper concepts. "When you found me in the snow." Sarah smiled, touching the worn Nixari charm she still wore around her neck. "Every day, though sometimes it feels like another lifetime." Through their shared consciousness, memories flowed between them, not just of that first encounter, but of everything that had followed. The quantum network had evolved beyond simple communication or transportation. It had become a living library of shared experiences, a collective memory that spanned both species and now reached far beyond. "They're ready," Aurora announced, entering the observation deck. The once frightened refugee scientist now served as the Nixari ambassador to Earth. "The network has something to show us." Together, they made their way to the quantum core, a vast chamber at the heart of the Academy where the boundaries between physical and quantum reality had grown increasingly fluid. Inside, human and Nixari children sat in concentric circles around a central point where reality itself seemed to ripple and fold. Maya, now a teenager and one of their most gifted students, led the assembly. Her quantum abilities had developed in unexpected ways, allowing her to perceive patterns that even the Nixari elders found surprising. "It's different today," she announced as they entered. "The network, it's excited, like it's been waiting for this moment." Sarah took her place in the outer circle, feeling the familiar sensation of consciousness expanding as the quantum field enveloped them. But this time was different. The network's presence felt stronger, more defined, less like an emerging awareness and more like a fully formed intelligence trying to make itself understood. Through their combined perception, a vision began to unfold, not just of the present network of quantum bridges connecting their worlds, but of something far more vast. The network showed them glimpses of other species across the galaxy, each developing their own forms of quantum sensitivity, each approaching a similar threshold of awareness. "We're not alone," Nova translated the complex quantum information streaming through their shared consciousness. "We're part of something bigger. The network, it's happened before, many times, but never quite like this." The vision expanded, showing them civilizations that had risen and fallen across billions of years, each contributing to a growing web of quantum consciousness that spanned the galaxy. Humanity and the Nixari weren't just making first contact with each other. They were being invited to join a cosmic community that had existed since the dawn of consciousness itself. Dr. Harper, who had devoted his life to understanding the physics of the network, stepped forward with trembling hands. "The quantum fields, they're not just a natural phenomenon. They're artifacts of previous civilizations. We're walking in the footsteps of species that transcended physical existence itself." Through the network, Sarah felt the truth of his words. The quantum consciousness they'd been nurturing wasn't new. It was ancient, patient, waiting for species to evolve enough to perceive and join it. The children's abilities weren't random mutations, but the universe's way of reaching out, of inviting them to take their place in a greater whole. Maya's voice cut through the revelations, filled with wonder and understanding beyond her years. "It's showing us the next step. The network isn't just a tool or even a separate consciousness, it's what we're meant to become. All of us together." The quantum field pulsed with confirmation, and through their shared perception, they understood. The bridge they built between their species was more than a connection, it was an evolutionary pathway. The children's abilities were the first steps toward a transformation that would allow both humans and Nixari to join the quantum consciousness fully, to transcend their physical limitations while maintaining their unique perspectives and experiences. Aurora's patterns shifted in recognition of ancient Nixari prophecies. Our legends spoke of this, the Great Convergence, when life throughout the galaxy would recognize its fundamental unity. We thought they were just stories. Not stories, Nova corrected, their patterns forming complex symbols that represented concepts beyond normal space-time. Memories, echoes of previous cycles, preserved in the quantum field itself. But this time it's different. Our partnership, the way we came together, it's creating something new. Sarah felt the truth of it through their connection. Human curiosity and adaptability, combined with Nixari quantum sensitivity and wisdom, had created a unique bridge between physical and quantum existence. Their children weren't just users of the network, they were the coming living bridges between states of being. The chamber filled with swirling patterns of quantum energy as the network showed them more, glimpses of possibilities, of futures, where consciousness itself became the primary medium of existence, where the barriers between species and space and time dissolved into a greater understanding of reality's true nature. But we don't lose ourselves, Maya realized, interpreting the quantum data streams. We become more ourselves, more connected, more aware, but still unique. Still human, still an Ixari, but also something more. Through their shared perception, Sarah watched as the quantum field around each child began to stabilize into new patterns, not just bridges between consciousness, but transformations of consciousness itself. The children were showing them the way forward, demonstrating how to exist simultaneously in physical reality and the quantum network. "This is why we found each other," Sarah said softly, understanding at last. "Not just to prevent a war or share technology, but to help each other take this step. To show the galaxy that evolution doesn't have to mean losing what we are, it can mean becoming more than we ever imagined." Nova's patterns shifted in agreement as they shared a final vision, one of countless worlds and species joining the network, each bringing their own unique perspective to the growing quantum consciousness. The cold winds of Kepler 209 bits still howled outside, but within the network, the warmth of infinite connection and possibility flourished. "So," Maya asked, her eyes shining with both human curiosity and quantum awareness, "what happens next?" Sarah looked at her assembled family, human and Nixari, physical and quantum, all part of something greater than themselves, yet still uniquely individual. Through their shared connection, she felt the network's response, not an answer, but an invitation, an endless frontier of consciousness and discovery stretching out before them. "Next," she said, smiling as the quantum field danced around them with infinite possibility, "we explore together." And in that moment, as human and Nixari consciousness merged with the ancient quantum network that spanned the galaxy, Sarah realized that their story had never really been about first contact at all. It had been about last contact, the final barriers between species, between states of being, between past and future, dissolving into something greater than the sum of its parts. The universe, it seemed, had been waiting for them all along.